To help us moderate this session is Dr. Ralph Twum from the Department of Mathematics, University of Ghana. Dr. Ralph Twum obtained his PhD in mathematics from Howard University in July 2012. He has been a faculty member at the Department of Mathematics, University of Ghana since January 2013, serving in various academic and administrative positions in the department over the past decade. He uses tools from category theory, representation theory, and the etiology in his area of research. Dr. Twum, you're welcome. Speaking from the academic point of view, today, University of Ghana really came in their force. It's Dr. Augustine Larweh Mahu from the same Department of Mathematics, University of Ghana. Dr. Mahu is a theoretical physicist and lecturer at the University of Ghana, specializing in quantum physics and gauge and gravity duality. He holds a PhD from the University of the Wits, where he researched black hole microstates and heavy operators in gauge theories. He published scholar in journals such as GHEP and Fiscal Review D. He has received grants from TWAS and held research roles in South Africa. As an associate partner of Essandoh Foundation Africa, he advocates quantum science education and curriculum innovation and is committed to mentoring young physicists across Africa. Dr. Mahu, you're welcome. From the policy point of view, we have Dr. Joseph Essandoh-Yeddu, energy expert and former director for strategy planning and policy, Energy Commission, Ghana. Dr. Essandoh is an adjunct professor at the Institute for Oil and Gas Studies, University of Cape Coast, and former director of strategy planning and policy at Ghana's Energy Commission. He led Ghana's first strategic national energy plan, 2006 to 2020, and contributed pioneering research on solar-powered communication systems. A lead and review author for the UN IPCC since AR5, he has consulted for UNFCCC, UNEP, and the IEA. He has held visiting scholar roles in Canada, Nigeria, and Germany. His expertise spans sustainable energy policy, quantum and laser physics, and climate systems. He's a member of IEE and Ghana Science Association. Dr. Essandoh, you're welcome. And to actively position ourselves, we've seen TVET and STEM to be masculine bias. It's Engineer Dr. Mrs. Miriam Eduful. Engineer Eduful is the General Manager for Safety, Health, and Environment at the Electricity Company of Ghana, a fellow of several professional bodies, including Ghana ISEP, IET Ghana, and the OSHA UK. She holds a PhD in Operations Management and degrees in Electrical Engineering, Business Administration, and Occupational Safety. With over 12 years of engineering experience, she has presented at major global forums, including IEA-PES and WCE London. She serves on the Engineering Council of Ghana and Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Her expertise spans arc flash safety, hazardous materials, power systems, and risk management. Ma'am, you are welcome. And the last but not the least, to do justice to the discussions this morning, is Professor Kester Chairman of CRITAC and Chair of Ghana National Cyber Intelligence and Cyber Defense Research Project. Professor Quist is a distinguished cybersecurity and artificial intelligence expert, serving as Chairman of the Center for Research, Information Technology and Advanced Computing, and Chair of Ghana's National Cyber Intelligence and Cyber Defense Research Project. A Tier 1 certified cybersecurity professional under Ghana's Cybersecurity Act, he brings over a decade of global experience in digital forensics, cyber defense, and emerging technologies. He is a senior member of IEE and ACM, and a member of the United Nations and ITU expert groups on AI for health and environmental efficiency. Professor Kester has served as a judge in the U.S. State Department's Global Cyber 9 and 12 Strategy Challenge, and has contributed to international standards at ITU, ITF, and IEE. He has led cybersecurity training for national and international security institutions. As former Dean of Ghana Communications Technology University, He spearheaded the development and accreditation of over 20 academic programs. Widely published and globally recognized, he's a laureate of the Millennium Excellence Awards for Technology Innovation. He holds a PhD in computer science with distinction from Université de Bretagne, please, this one you help me, Bretagne Occidentale, France. Professor Kester Quist Afezi, you are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand you over to our moderator, Dr. Twum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Osei. I'm grateful. Thank you and welcome to our panel discussion. The last lecture set us up very nicely for the discussion we are going to have on Ghana's quantum future, sustaining momentum for lasting legacies. So as she said, my name is Ralph Twum. I teach mathematics at the University of Ghana. And welcome to our panelists. So Dr. Mahu, Dr. Essandoh-Yeddu, Engineer Dr. Miriam Eduful, and Professor Kester Quist Afezi. So this is the way we will go about it. I will ask them a few questions. I'll ask one general question for all our panelists, and then I'll ask sector-specific questions, so academia, industry, innovation. And then we will throw it open for questions. Based on the last seminar, I know you still have some questions that you want answered or some contributions. So we'll give you some opportunity to ask your questions. So the first question I have is for all the panelists, so you can take your time to give your perspective. And so it talks about the International Year of Quantum Science 2025 celebrations. So now that Ghana is leading these celebrations, in your opinion, what are the key actions or commitments that each of our sectors should take so that this momentum translates into lasting change in infrastructure, in policy and innovation, in quantum science and technology? So any of you can start. Who wants to go first? Okay, so ladies first. So Dr. Eduful, you want to go first?
Thank you so much, and good morning to you all. This quantum science issue is a big deal for all of us, especially in Africa. And in fact, we say Ghana is leading, but it's barely felt across our nation and also in Africa as a whole. To me, what I would like to suggest is we need to particularly prioritize this quantum science issue. Apart from the policies we put in place, we have to actually groom people, just like we are campaigning for STEM education. The quantum, because it can help us solve many problems, the government needs to actually take it up and make sure it, because in Ghana now we have the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Government is funding so many education, TVET and other things through there. And if some of these monies can be channeled to ensure that even institutions, private sector, the industry, everybody is on board when it comes to the leadership in quantum, it is going to really help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really very happy to see the youth around, the people, the students and all that. Yeah, fine. Interestingly, some of us, when we entered the university, KNUST in the mid-80s, I was looking to electrical engineering. So I didn't get it, and I got electrical. But when I got to the university, I looked at my result. Oh, all you have there, yes. But interesting thing came. Somebody said, hey, concentrate on your physics. So, and I did that. Fine. So, when I completed, during the first time, then I met Prof. Saloti. And then coming from the same area, in the Fanti area, he drew me closer. This in the Fanti Okunfi Sopon area, then drew me closer to him. Fine. See, then, after that, a number of institutions interviewed me. Ghana Standards Authority now, I used to be Ghana Standards Board, CSR, that I used to have a Technology Transfer Center and all those kind of things. But then, National Fire Service, the time I realized I was put to Apam Secondary School. So some people were disappointed a bit. But then I took it and studied the whole thing more. So interested as a young man then, just doing my national service, I started writing feature articles for the Weekly Spectator. Do you know the Weekly Spectator? We, the adults, you know. Do you know it? You see, I kept quiet. So started writing articles, particularly when the U.S. about to shoot this Voyager into space. I wrote it. Do you see? And then the next was Ghana. When we entered in 83, we entered the serious doomsday. Foreigners and doomsday is low shedding. Low shedding. We call it doomsday over here. Fine. So what else? We see the quantum study, then lighting, lasers, and all those kind of things. So then I started studying solar energy. So I wrote another article in the Spectator, Solar Energy as an Option. That was 1987. Do you see? Then Prof. told him, go and call Essandoh, he's wasting his time there. So he really encouraged. Then that time, he also has set up something called the Energy Research Group. Look at the different options for to really, that time we were largely relying on the hydropower coming from Akosombo. Do you see? And it's a good thing. And then you see, we call it Akosombo Nkania. It means lies from the great. So foreigners, Akosombo Nkania, who hear it, it's a song or two. It means lies from the great. Everybody wanted to get a great power. And that time, about 10 to 12 hours, no light. So then we look at other options. So when I wrote that feature article, solar energy, it became very popular. So I was invited, but then the energy board had been set up, I brought in. Then they also was running the energy research group. So and I started writing the solar articles. And we were very happy with it. Solar is just light from the sun. So why do I get it? I mean, the sun, like yesterday we have been taught, it's a wave, and then all the rest, if you break the waves further, you got the particles, the photonics. And out of it, my main concentration was the photovoltaics, the semiconductor materials. So I was the first shadow officer for the country, this is to look at solar energy. So those of you, I'm very sure, those of you in the Middle Age, you remember the solar lights at the Legon, the University of Ghana Road. I did it. Started really setting up solar labs in the University of Cape Coast, lab there. KNUST, you go there, there's now called renamed the Hammond Energy Center. They started with solar. And then UDS to the first just vice chancellor was my co-supervisor, also started solar. Started through that, and then they equipped them. But people didn't understand. Why are you using government resources to do that for? You see, that was the disparity between academia and then industry. So that's why here you find me insisting on that. You see, so when the time for graduates, I want to look at the applications, because that was the missing factor over here. I started writing to also looking at solar power transmission. Do you see? Solar power micro transmission. The whole idea was that now in space, you can put what they call a satellite there, grab the solar, convert to micro power, and transmit through these photonics and all those things over here. Then we use receivers, do you see, grab it over here and turn to power. So that's why I have about 24 hours of power supply. Because when it's dark here, it's light somewhere. You see, and that brought me. In fact, when MTA came, I was among the first to be interviewed. But I never knew that in 1995 they invited me to South Africa. That's why I got to Stellenbosch University. They have a huge lab on this photonics and then the quantum. Not all that in Ghana then. So I'm happy that we started this in the country. But as much as possible, let's try to make it easier for the people, for the students who are coming to understand, appreciate it. They see the application, then they are prepared to move forward it. Thank you very much for now.
Or okay. Based on the question, if you come around the world, you would understand from the advanced countries, from the developing countries, and when I say developing countries, you look at those that are like India, and they are much more a bit advanced than what we have in Africa. You would understand that most of the institutions are linked with companies, and there's a huge support with government. So there's this triad. You have companies, you have the research institutions, you have also the government that is the driving force in terms of, they have a higher purchasing power. They all collaborate to actually ensure that the ecosystem works. Because the base of it is funding, money. You need resources to be able to make all of these things happen. And here, we have a bit of a breakage in such linkages. And therefore, one of the central themes that we have to take away going forward would be to really establish and make sure that we get to have these linkages. Companies can pay up, government can support, the research flows, so everybody's happy in that cycle, and we can actually generate enough businesses, technologies, students are well funded, academics are also well greased in their palm. And then by grease, I don't mean the negative way, I mean the positive way. So then the ecosystem really is self-sustaining, because that's the key, the central thing that we need. And of course, we do also partner with international collaborators, international donors, those who come in, those are extra funding that are really important as well. But the central thing is that locally, we must be self-sustaining. And without that, no matter the influx of resources from outside, you never know when they get depleted. Thank you.
Okay. So we are currently living in age of information superiority. And you can see that we have artificial intelligence, connectivity, and cybersecurity being some of the game changers in terms of how we process information, use it for our society in a secure way. So for a country to have dominance within the space of this current age, that has to do with information superiority that we find ourselves in. Ability to compute things very fast in terms of large data sets, make decisions out of it, and solve problems faster will give you that competitive advantage over your allies, being it in any format. The defense sector, ability to acquire information from warfare, process it, make decision, inform, whether centralized or decentralized, to make decisions at the battlefield will give you competitive advantage over your enemies. At the same time, if you are able to process information very fast, break down complex equations, come up with solutions, understand and twist them based on speed of computational systems, advanced artificial intelligence, you can find solution to a lot of problems, being in the health sector, finding cures for diseases. Let these computers process things and give you that information. You'll be able to take advantage of that sector to help your country develop new drugs, creating more opportunities in terms of making money from drug sales, at the same time providing better healthcare, and also developing more advanced technologies that can make things in a society easier. At the same time, within the security sector, can give you competitive advantage in terms of being able to intercept and process large information in a very short time, and at the same time also break very complex cryptographic protocols. So you realize that as the quantum computing space begin to expand, there was a high need of developing post-quantum cryptographic protocols that can still make businesses, communications over the internet secure when these things come. I've seen most of those technologies. I've been part of most of those discussions, including NIST. I was also at NIST to have discussion on this kind of sectors in terms of security of computing and stuff like that, blockchain technologies and stuff like that. So in terms of our space, we have challenges already in terms of how we handle our information and make useful meaning out of them towards our own societal development and other things. What do I mean? When you look at the health sector, most of the data sets that are generated by our own hospitals are not that used well for our competitive advantage. So we can start from that, leveraging on abilities to use some of these technologies to solve our problems. Then when the quantum sector also is advancing and developing, and maybe 50 years from now, 70 years from now, where we can now integrate some of these computing capabilities into our system, we'll have a solid human capacity that can support this base within our various countries, and then we can also benefit from some of the advantages and the byproducts that we can get in terms of the power of the computing of these supercomputing systems that we have. Even the developed countries, in terms of the technologies that they have, the firms, Google and other things, you realize that they are still also working in terms of engaging practical quantum computers in their systems in terms of information processing and stuff like that. We can develop our students in the mathematical side, even if we don't have the lab to kind of demonstrate. I have partnerships. You can see Google is having an AI branch here. Have partnership with these organizations and see how we can trade in terms of research output. And later see how we can have research centers here that can develop and then be part. Because if your research centers cannot produce technologies that the other country will be interested in, then funding becomes a problem. For example, when you look at the Israeli structure, they currently have most of the research labs of Google, Intel, and all those kind of things there. Also researching for that, maintaining their human capacity while sharing information. And other countries like India is also having similar things now. And other countries are also benefiting from these centers. So if we as Africans or Ghanaians want to benefit more for this collaboration at a level where we share research information within the space of the quantum space, and in terms of how we can harness the energy of these quantum systems in solving problems within our society and stuff like that, that will help in a better collaborative way in terms of advancing our society, and then we can now develop a plan in order to sustain that human capacity from the lower levels to the higher levels. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So they've all given different perspectives to the question. Maybe just a quick summary, that we need to prioritize quantum science. If we are going to sustain this momentum, we need to prioritize quantum science. We need to work together. There's no substitute for foundations in physics and mathematics. And then you also need to make it accessible for everybody. If you're going to carry everybody along, the technology, the education, the training must be accessible. Thank you all very much. So we'll go on to the sector-specific questions. So I will begin with academia. So Dr. Mahu, we're looking at Ghanaian universities and other research institutions. How can we institutionalize quantum science, whether through formal degree programs, faculty collaborations, or shared infrastructure beyond this International Year of Quantum Science?
Thank you. As it stands, given the presentation by Dr. Henry Martin, we all understand that already we already having quantum education happening at the several departments, both mathematics, physics, and then you get to have also chemistry. And so there is some degree programs already happening at the postgraduate level, both master's, PhD, and then undergraduate level. Now, beyond this conference and beyond in trying to make progress really lies in how do we harness the research that we are doing. And by the research, it comes in several phases. There is a theoretical bit, which is contributing to for example, the work that I do, which is in quantum gravity, which is highly theoretical. There is the experimental, and then there are several phases of these things. Now, how do we get industries to understand what we're doing, translating the work that we do into products, okay, that brings resources to the country, and so the cycle goes on. And of course, having government buy-in. That is the focus. That is the thing that is not missing in our system. And charting the path forward, this is where we need to create a system to make this happen. How do we do it? There's been a proposal, but the proposal can be enhanced in many ways. And in the sense that researchers are already affiliated to institutions, and therefore we don't want to duplicate any roles in the system because it doesn't help. So we carefully ensure that existing institutions are really doing what they do, and then we simply try to enhance what is missing. And what is missing is getting the priorities of the government solved. So government have many problems, which is one angle where we can get resources. When we have these quantum institutions, and in fact, when I say quantum, the establishing a quantum strategy or quantum an institute, it comes to several other affiliated departments and programs that must enhance it. One of them is high-performance computing stuff. So you get to even have statistics and many other departments collaborating to have it. So we look at what this government needs. By this government, so I'm limited to Ghana. What do we need? What can convince the government to help us build such a system? Because if the government is not going to get anything back, return on investment, they will never support. And so we look carefully and say, what does the government want? Can we tailor something to meet what they want? And in such an angle, how do we structure it such that the expertise from various universities can come together, collaborate, and be able to effectively deliver to the needs of the government and to the needs of companies that are going to work with government. So in Ghana, I'll give you an example. We are trying to enter into the domain of drug discovery. And there are many things that can we can model stuff from the angle of mathematicians. We can actually look, the data that you get, okay, you may, if you actually simulate with quantum computers, the better, because you're actually looking at the order of magnitude of the things that the molecules you're dealing with are actually in atomic scale, and therefore, if you model with quantum computers, you are at a better place in getting something out. So we have to be carefully guided towards how we go about these things and how we choose what is essential and in order not to duplicate any activity that is already happening. And so I think that there's a lot more that will happen beyond this. Several discussions will have to happen, and we're actually thinking that the universities, the researchers, there will be some kind of a meeting to help really bring this such an understanding and carefully create these things to make things happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. And part on the training. So you've got things like KNUST's e-learning school. I know other universities have some sort of online training and so on. How do we take these sorts of things and then create training programs for postgraduate curricula, regional training hubs?
Okay. This is a story I think I have been facing. Getting PhD student is hard in Ghana in theoretical physics. So, for example, if you get to have a student in KNUST and he's researching into a certain area of physics, and possibly he needs some expertise to be able to guide him finish the research, but that expertise doesn't lie within the department he is working in. This is a good platform, having an e-learning platform with some MOUs signed between universities for, say, for example, issuing a degree, joint degrees, things like that. It goes a long way because I get to work with a student because we share a student, we get to work with a student together, we publish together. This helps. And with the e-learning platform, the student mustn't always have to come to me physically, especially if things are not really at the level of experimental. Then it's theoretical. Things can be done. Of course, once in a while there is. So that's one angle that things can happen as well.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the role of the government. So Dr. Essandoh-Yeddu, so you have been part of a committee to develop a strategic national energy plan twice, I believe. And so along those lines, we're looking at how quantum science can be integrated into national innovation strategies, digital transformation programs, long-term workforce development policies. In your opinion, how can we do this? What are some of the things we can do?
Yes, thank you very much. Like I keep emphasizing, the applications, like the late minister said, may his soul rest in peace. He moved around all these research institutions, a pile of piles of ideas, library sitting down there. You get to a PhD, you are right, a professor, this and that. You leave your wild beard and others. Do you see? Yes, you get it. But what else? If I leave all those, even when there's a funeral, they will not invite you. Do you see? Yes. How can all these research and all the benefit the population? That's it. Because I remember when I was employed by the Energy Commission, that I will not mention my boss' name. That is Essandoh. It's ARC-EDS, it's not new. As far back as 91, so it was there. The journals. Quantum world, that's older, far older. I was there. So you come and say, hey, Joseph, stop all this, not help you. You see? But going through all this, it opened my eyes. How can these people understand the importance of quantum? So then, but when you say lasers, they're ahead of it. So what is this? Then you explain. Do you see? A good example that the solar, when that aspect came, is the semiconductors. The photovoltaic is semiconductor material. We should have some in the country. So that encouraged the Geological Service Department. We team up with them. In fact, through their boss, really encourage us to team up with them. Then around Saw Pond area, yeah, there's silica deposits there. Do you see? And out of silica will come the silicon, semiconductors. Out of it will come the photovoltaics. And mind you, it's not only in solar, also in radio, the transistors, and all those that we are using. Do you see? Yes. So, yes, these are the things. The challenge that time was the energy we needed to. Do you see? And that's why the PV beginning was very expensive. Do you see? And then, you see, I keep saying Ghanaians, we don't take our time to understand. When the tariffs the tariff structure was structured by the Joint Common Commons time, the base industries, they gave them the lowest. The base industry means the processes of metal, the earth metals, bauxite to aluminum. Do you see? You could have done that. Somebody came and said, why should we give this industry that low and we high? No. Mind you home, when someone says baby, children have baby children, they eat different food. They don't eat the big fufus and others that we are eating like we. Do you see? The the boss, Conte La Pewa, sorry, one of the traditional, Fufu and others. No, they start with something. So because if now almost everything is, you have aluminum in there. Do you see? Yes, we start all these things and go through. It's all part understanding these basic sciences and then interpret it to the people. Do you see? Yes. So I was in there, brought in there, doing all that. A good example of Ghana Telecom. Now we have the grade. But formerly, you know, they wanted to go, what do you call it, national coverage. So they started with PVs. So through PVs, that's how national, or the telecom, that's now later on bought by Vodafone, was able to cover the whole country almost. Because but when people got to know about the PVs, excuse me, they started stealing the panels. So now they started putting their structures really, what they call the structure inside where people are, so that they employ somebody to look after it. Do you see? Now that's why now you don't see the solar panels. Do you see? So the university started all this for people to see and all that. Do you see? Yes. So many things that when the other person, they see the applications, they really join. Do you see? Treatment to health and all the laces. Like yesterday I was telling somebody, now when we are doing this radiology, you see, they use even though still broad. But if you laces, if you are using laser technique, you see, it doesn't damage the effect of other non-disease cells. Very low. So when they have the means or they are politicians, they go out. Then we are here, we suffer. Do you see? But why don't we get some of these equipment here for all of us to benefit? It's understanding. So I'm very happy that they are happy that you are here. So also let's do as much how best we can break some of these things down for them to understand that these things you are hearing, these are the basic things that you can apply and do. Do you see? Yes. And interesting thing about the youth, take advantage of it. When I started all these things, I don't know how. IEEE, Miriam is a member. And then also over there, also members. Luis, I was there, I got an invitation to come to the US. That they are same my report and solar energy. Come and make all that. Then, like I said, the one I did on the really solar power transmission, space transmission. Come. Lucy, come and do all that. That took me to South Africa. In South Africa, that was 1995. And then I was invited to Stellenbosch University. Taking to see all the labs, the laser labs, and all the displays. But not knowing, then after that, the MTN interviewed us. Not knowing they wanted to recruit and come, physicists and others. Then so I want to remain my energy. You see? But one day, because so somebody felt I was wasting time with all this, I came to office, then all my books on quantum and all that have been taken away, heading somewhere. You see? My small library have been condemned. You see, you want space for somebody to join the office, you are using all these things. What are you going to build about? You see? And then that time, computers. Sorry, we'll come back to you. Computers, laptops. No, the laptops have the computer. Only about a few people were using computers. You see? But when I went there, I knew how to use the computer. How? They were shocked. Then out of it. So that time, Energy Board, later, the Energy became a fair institution in the country where every office you go, there was a computer. And then later on, laptop. So if there's knowledge, somebody have that insight. But through all this, physics, do you see that universities then, like the one professor allotted to how the early research, he got some funding outside. So where almost every 2 years, we have the National Energy Symposium. Invited institutions and companies out come and display some of these things. What have you done? Somebody came around 2000, he said, doesn't see, we are just wasting money. And then you collapse it. Do you see? Yes. So that's the challenge that we have in our country.
Thank you very much. So, Engineer Dr. Eduful, so from the industry perspective, we've talked about different industries. Energy has been mentioned a lot, the telecoms, fintech as well, if you got Dr. Martin's presentation. So in your opinion, how are these industries and others that you've engaged with, how are they preparing to engage with quantum-enabled technologies for national development and for competitive advantage?
Thank you so much. Let me start from my institution, Electricity Company of Ghana. A lot is going on recently. We are also passionate in achieving the SDGs, particularly 7 and 13, to be able to provide safe and quality electricity for
You'll have to switch. The mics are on, but it will take some time for them to switch on this. Yeah. Okay, I think we are back. I think, yes, so you may continue.
Yeah. Sorry. So it is like that. Yesterday, before I continue, yesterday at the lunch, one participant asked me, how come at the BA been switching off light? I said, oh, ECG, we are actually the name behind electricity in Ghana, but we don't serve at BA. We don't distribute there. It's NETCO. So the same way, they have internal problem here, but as soon as it goes off, it is ECG. So what I'm saying is that we are doing a lot at ECG now. In terms of optimization, we have the SCADA systems. We are moving to smart grids. And all these things, the basics are quantum. The low flows we run, we have the R&D, we have the innovation directorates. We've been having a lot of forums of late, and most of our experts are actually doing research, bringing on board solutions to ensure that we achieve our carbon footprints. At ECG now, we have gone cashless. We don't have cash offices where you go and pay money. Okay, we have our Power App developed very robust. I think 2 years ago, 2023, we were hacked severally. This has caused us to bring on board sophisticated infrastructure in terms of ICT and information security. So we are doing a lot. Recent times, ECG is going paperless. We are actually making sure that the SDG Goal 13, we are also achieving it. And in all this, if you check our documentation, you wouldn't see it being documented that ECG is using quantum. But the sophisticated systems that we are using elaborate a lot on the quantum strategies here. So we need to also prioritize quantum, if you ask me. And this has to also be done in all our energy sector, from VRA, GRICO, NETCO. Everybody should come on board. And when the name is mentioned, priority is given to it. Okay, and people are being groomed. As we speak, we have a lot of experts in ECG who are innovating daily. All the 23 directorates we have robust policies governing that. We recently launched our new safety and health policies that is looking at sustainability in all aspects of our operations. And you cannot mention sustainability and leave safety out. They go hand in hand. So I believe a lot is being done in the industry, but quantum actually needs to be prioritized and mentioned and documented so that we can see the successes so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick addition. You talked a lot about what ECG in particular is doing. Do you know if there are any collaborations with academia on some of the initiatives? Yeah. Or is this something we would want to explore further?
What I would like to touch on is recent times the Engineering Council commissioned a committee, which I'm part, to put together criteria where the industry staff, the experts, can move to academia easily, and the academia also being able to cross over to bring expertise on board. And I think we've done with work, and we are doing it in collaboration with GTech also, because we realize that a lot are going on. People are experts in so many areas. We realize of late when the new engineers come, it's like they are learning nothing at all, and because technology keeps changing, and they are learning the outdated ones at school. So we do train, we let them travel out, we do a lot of, and we are spending. So we believe that if these experts who have built their career over the years are now moved into, when I joined ECG, I joined with HND from Kumasi Polytechnic, but I didn't stop there. Whilst working, I kept on learning, and I had 2 degrees, master's degrees in occupational health and safety. I did business administration also to be able to manage a whole lot of things, because whatever you propose, you need to do cost-benefit analysis. So I have to major in accounting. I have to go back to school to do my degree also. Finally, I realized that we are operating hazardous systems that risk need to be managed well. I have to go and do my master's degree in occupational health and safety risk management. Finally, I have to do my PhD in operations management. You see, so there's this continuous professional development we need to embrace. And when the students come to the industry, we tell them to join professional bodies. The professional bodies also groom you, because you meet with all kinds of people, and your network become wider. And occasions like this, conferences, workshops, when you are engaged in it, you learn a great deal. Since these 3 days, I've learned so many things about quantum. Maybe the ones I got to know at school is even small. We've written algorithms, we have done coding and a lot, but this short time, liaising with these intellectuals, you realize that you learn a lot also. You know that quantum is not just the ones and zeros, the bits. It has squares and all this. We have the materials aspect of it. We are looking at so many things. So I think that the industry, from the Engineering Council perspective, has already taken a step forward. And most of the experts in ECG and other industries are all in these engineering professional bodies also. Just like the medical school, they are now able to move to academia with ease because they have the criteria. Very soon, I think it will be publicized, and then GTech will roll it out so that people who go on pension from the industry with all these years of knowledge can go and impact. And even those who are still there can go there and have part-time lectures with students, so that the gap that is so wide now can be bridged. Because sometimes we don't understand why a first-class material can join us and cannot use common Excel. You see, before you even mention quantum. So these are the things we are looking at. And I think certain things need to be prioritized before it can be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to Professor Kester, Christopher. So, from the area of innovation, how can Ghana's innovation ecosystem, research institutions, our startups, and our hubs drive practical applications of quantum technologies in different areas, in part of your area of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and advanced computing?
Okay, thank you very much. So, within the sector of cybersecurity, we have two sectors, okay? That is working against the capabilities of the quantum computing, and then also harnessing the quantum computing capability to solve problems in cybersecurity. And besides processing large data, making decisions from it, we also have the cryptographic aspect that deals with securing information and at the same time also breaking those codes. And in terms of breaking security codes, you need very powerful computers to solve those problems. And quantum computers are promising systems that intelligence agencies are relying on based on what they are capable of doing so far in working on secured communications. So we can have centers that focus on developing the quantum computers for cryptanalysis, and then another sector also looking at developing post-quantum cryptographic protocols for securing systems, being it government communications and banking and stuff like that. But most often, the government communication systems are of the priority, since the businesses and stuff like that uses standard protocols, and it has to be approved for one system to talk to each other globally within the internet space. So government can and then drive that initiative based on its need. And organizations can also drive those initiatives based on its needs. Then they can collaborate with academia, where they can work in developing the capacity, and also the research hubs can also pick that and develop solutions. Because in fact, industry doesn't lead academia. Government don't lead academia. Academia must lead industry and government in terms of providing solutions. So the expertise must be continuously developed in academia. Then based on government policy and direction, they use some of these technologies. Because some of the research works might not have need today, but tomorrow it will be useful. And these things makes it difficult for people to understand how academic space works. So for example, they can say, oh, people are spending so much energy doing a research work that cannot be used or is not of current use. Okay? That is how they work. Trying to solve problems within that field, hoping that one day the solutions that they come out with would solve problems in the future. And also, governments can charge them in providing solutions to its immediate problems so that they can solve it, as well as also industry can also charge that. So in the sector of artificial intelligence, once we look at the future in terms of decentralizing intelligence and then localizing some capabilities and sharing those resources. Because a lot of people keep on complaining, oh, if you look at most of the content in artificial intelligence space, Africa is like a little bit behind because of the availability of data, and a lot of data has not been pumped in there and stuff like that. And the future is going to be more of decentralized systems that they have capabilities to perform so many things. So we can also start working on systems that has artificial intelligence capabilities where we have the data here and we can federate in terms of operation. Then, looking at that, we can have plans to integrate the processing of those data sets, working on those data sets in order to solve problems, and engage quantum computing capabilities in solving these problems for our local needs, and at the same time, rendering services to other sectors and also benefiting from it. And these are the things that can drive edge of government and also industry in pushing more resources and funding to the academic space in terms of quantum capability. So for example, if the government decides that we want to speed up activities within the health sector in terms of diagnostics, processing, imaging, and stuff like that, they can initiate and put people together, teams, to start developing those systems, advancing upon it, using it within our health sector, rendering such services to other countries, making money, using it to support the project. And then when the data sets become very large, we can federate it. At the same time, we can engage high-powered computing capabilities like the quantum computers in solving some of these problems that we will face in terms of diagnostics, disease discovery, and all the, drug discovery for the various diseases based on how these computers can pick information out there, go through research works, compare things in relation, go to other federated systems out there, pull data. I'm using the word federation because that is going to be more of the future. So can feed on those things and then use it to make decisions. Then we are preparing ourselves and also benefiting from what we are doing. What sense does it make if you are training quantum computing capabilities or quantum scientists that will be feeding their expertise to developing other countries' systems whilst you don't have the direct benefits of it? What sense does it make? And if you also don't develop your capabilities to the point that you can manage systems and have the workforce to run it, then in that case, you don't expect external agencies to fund research labs here, expand it to the point that they can depend on your research output in terms of that collaboration. And currently, having allies and benefits between two countries, the research and technology plays a key role. If you look at, in terms of the research and technology war space that happens, US is concerned about China's capabilities and other countries' capabilities, and they are interested in making sure that they also have that competitive advantage. In situations where they have allies that they need those capabilities, partnerships become key. You can see that relation closely between Israel and US in terms of how they partner on that level. So in countries where innovation and other things are shooting up, developed countries can also take advantage of that. Even if the government is a little bit behind and partner and develop knowledge expertise, definitely they will drain some of the expertise, but governments too, or nations too, must take advantage of that and see how they can sustain and build that kind of a human capacity that they can benefit from. Even though we are excited that Google is building an AI community or whatever here, it's not for Ghana per se, it's for Google. The focus is on the human resource that cannot make it out there and stuff like that, because most of the technologies they will develop, I think 90% to be in the interest of what Google wants, not what Ghana wants. So we can design our systems like that. And then we can produce a human capacity in terms of feeding into those spaces. Because in terms of the AI itself and the computing capabilities that we have, we've not exhausted that one yet. Then we are now moving into the quantum computers that don't even exist here. So how are you going to integrate that? But also it doesn't mean that if you also don't have these capacities, you cannot go into that. The people that are supposed to go into those spaces are those in academic environment. Unless an industry has a vision in terms of developing a product and we want to go through that initial process, and then that is fine. So our academic institutions can be empowered to do that. And the universities must have that kind of edge superiority in their spaces. So for example, if in case you talk about quantum communication systems, we must have a university that is working on quantum communication. We must have a university that is researching on developing basic quantum system. Then the communication guys will rely on that system that I developed, then that collaboration and growth will be there. It's not that one person will try to do everything. That is why when physics gave birth to a lot of fields, they still remain in their space, whilst those fields continue to develop and they still have people still feed in there. And that respect must be given to those spaces. So these are some of the things that we can use and strategies that we can use, because building a quantum strategy or AI strategy will be meaningless if it does not reflect in the life of the country, the society, and then benefit the field itself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will take questions from the audience for our panelists. So I believe we have some mics set, so we'll just a second.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a lot to feed on this morning, but I also get scared when I hear about quantum, and quantum going to increase the pace of development. And already in our continent, or Ghana in particular, we are already behind. So if quantum is going to increase the pace of development, then there's a lot we have to do. How do you address that? Especially with academia, where our curriculum is always behind, and now quantum is coming. How do we bridge this gap? I'm looking at it from this angle. How can the academia use micro-credentials as well as the social media to address the challenge of time and interest? Because if you look at our youth, they are always on the social media. If we can use micro-credentials, and then we can use social media as a way of imparting this knowledge, I think quantum will become a household name. Thank you very much.
Right, please.
Thank you.
Mine goes to Professor from Electricity. Yes, please, I would like to know how will we use quantum to solve illegal issues? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've really enjoyed listening to everybody. But I think I identify with the last speaker when she spoke about physics. How can Ghana train better physics teachers? Because that is where it all starts. We have to start at the basics. I mean, we learn about protons, electrons, neutrons, but we don't really know what they do from there. And I also think that there should be a good mentoring system for young people when they get to the university, so that all the different fields that quantum can do, they are exposed to. But I really think that we should start from the basics. We should really go out and improve on training our physics teachers and make them up to date with what is going around. And then from secondary school, then university, we go on with the mentoring. But physics is a big problem. Thank you. And mathematics.
Okay, so we'll take the first three. So, Dr. Mahu, the first question was on academia in terms of the curriculum. I'm
Yes.
sure other panels will weigh in, but you can lead us off.
So your question and hers are they are a bit similar. So I'll attempt both at the same time. So now, with the question of training the teachers to teach better, I will take you through memory lane. From high school, you would learn that there's a lot of students who go into sciences, okay? And many parents, once their awards complete and they get all A's, 6 A's and all of that, the very first thing that comes to mind is go to medical school, okay? So you get to have, is the reason why Ghana is very strong in medicine, when it comes to the area of medicine. You have a lot of students who are good at mathematics, physics, chemistry, and all of them, biology, all of them shift into the medical school or the biological sciences, to say. And only a few who are able to stand on their ground and say, Mom and Dad, I'm not going, I'm interested in math, and I'm going to pursue math. Okay, we've had, Doctor, he will tell you, we've had stories of students who come to us with their parent fighting, complaining that they really want to do math, and then their parents are saying, no, you have to do something else. So the picture is not really entirely on the angle of the teaching. There is an aspect that has to do with the perception of what courses to do in the university. And it's predominantly based on the fact that when I'm done with physics, what am I going to do? People are saying, when I'm done with medicine, I have got a job guaranteed, it's well paid, and therefore I'm good to go. So that is one picture that really has to change before we truly understand the dynamics of whether or not the teacher is doing a good job or not a good job. Because I can predict to some extent that the teachers are doing an average job, above average job, because our medical students who have gone through this training are really doing well to some extent. But I cannot, so there is something that has to go on there. So that has to do with training. When it comes to the university, what we receive in the university, and both mathematics, I can speak on authority on mathematics and physics, what we receive are students who are not motivated to do mathematics, who are not motivated to do physics. They are there because, okay, I have had a C, which is a C plus, which is the minimum grade you need to have for you to be accepted into math plus all the other things. And once they come, in my class, I ask them, how many of you chose to do this course on your own accord? You find one person raising their hand. Okay. And they are there because, well, I have no choice. So the motivation is not there. They are not there because I simply have to be in the university. That's one thing. I need to be in the university. I'm in the university, and that's the story. We do, if you get to get them encouraged, one or two would get to move along the line and then try to pursue. But there is this disparity, unlike elsewhere where you find a brighter student pursuing math, pursuing physics. Here's the reverse. Because culturally, we actually incentivize our students to rather pursue medicine, pursue the medical career, and then leave all the, especially the physical, the physical sciences, chemistry, mathematics, biology, the raw biology itself, and then and physics. So there is a fundamental problem in that direction. Thank you.
Yeah, I keep hammering on what the industry aspect. Like I'm saying, they will enter this campuses, physics straight away while the computations. Then they ask us, where are we going to take these things to? You see, even your parents. But one good thing that Prof did very well was the establishment of the AIMS. It started here in Ghana as the Institute of Mathematical Sciences. Then later on, team up with the South Africa and they formed the AIMS for Africa. Right, fine. You see, when we were young, the museums. Now go to Science Museum. How many of the students have any a tour over there. Nothing. By the time they will go all that. Do you see? And then also the internship. Now it's becoming better, a bit. Do you see? But sometimes, but they used to do it when we were young, and then go to simple, there was that divide. But then we are trying to improve. Do you see? So excuse me to say, somebody will come from the advanced countries. We thank you for what our colleagues are doing. Hey, we will not show you, not do how it will benefit the country and the economy. Listen, for example, we used to have agriculture. Everybody was taught how to grow something, tomatoes. Now, with all our fertile lands, we import tomatoes from where? Burkina Faso. Where is the former Wenchi tomato practice, the Palugu and all that? Somebody comes and find a way, indoctrinate you, then you abandon all that. How was CSR set up? To do all that, to make sure all these things are. But how many of the schools say we are going for an excursion to CSR? You see? So there's a big divide. When they start knowing the applications, then people will see the opportunities. So when the aims was set up, people, we have the opportunity to fellowship, go do and all those things. And I remember when I was aims, interesting thing happened. So I told them, it shouldn't be just only mathematics and sciences, but applications of the industry part that I didn't understand. You see, but when they started introducing that aspect, now those are the accountants, those being trained accounting. Last they were testifying. Then now when they go to the public sector and others, people are afraid of them. Because through the AI and then they will expose the corruption. And what's happening? I can tell you, this was a private one. Somebody told me privately, someone who was involved in this election kind of thing. Some of this election, how? They all. So now if you want to win the election, you need to have gurus in the IT and the AI. Otherwise, you'll be beaten. You see? So everything now, a good example, I keep saying, you all heard about people in a certain country, Lebanon, or there, then what? Their phones will explode. I guess you heard it. It's all what? Like I say, we people tell you are transmitting power, just the waves. But them, they are using what? Photonics. You see, hide information there, it gets you, you get to celebrate, they explode. Based on a certain words you use, or your attitude. Do you see? And these are the things people need to see. So intentionally, to me, let me alone, there should be a policy for the government to make sure. Yes, I was really very encouraging internship with it. But I will not just allow anybody. If you are not serious, I'll give you some. Otherwise, I'll move you. No matter what. I remember somebody in government brought a daughter. He was just playing. And I said, no, lady, pack your things and leave. The minister, what they call them, call me from, they call the minister of energy. I didn't mind them. Do you see? Yes. Let's be principled and see how best we can also incorporate them, the youth and others. So they admire all these things. You see, the universities, demonstration. And we talk about solar. We talk about how many of them are using solar plants. Now it's good that KNUC is doing something. You introduce them. You go there, they use the grade. One is Doomsaw, there's Doomsaw for all. The demonstration, you saw that when you go outside. In Sweden, they're using the biomass kind of thing. Do you see, using the energy from the waste and all those things. Then, when the student come to know all this, then practically when he goes to know, then, yes. But what do? We steal something, they don't see any practical use kind of thing. CSI do so many things. How many have gone there? Do you see? So these are the things we need to look at, sit down and discuss. And then we see how best. And then that was one advantage that when the National Energy Symposium was run, it was doing. Come like this. Yeah, come around, they discuss how best can put the system. But certain politicians came, we were wasting time, money, and they collapsed it. This is, so when the foreign support dried up, and then the whole thing collapsed. So as let's see the importance of all these things. Do you see? Then people will see the importance of collaboration between academia and industry. Otherwise, all this will remain the shelf. Do you see? You get your top degrees, all right, but you are here. Like I'm saying, excuse the local perspective you will not get. Do you see? Yes, so it's very important that really You get like what we are doing now. They come and listen to some of these things. When the people get interested, they go to the university and see the labs, demonstration, the laser labs, like we have University of Cape Coast and others. Oh, they are like to do. What are the opportunities? You can use it to do this and this, the displays and all that. It should be doing there. Now, IT, formally, when the proprietor set up the computer, hey, how many people are learning? How many computers are here? Hey, in this country. Well, there's his own colleagues. Do you see? Now, computer. Then later, computers. Now, look, computer everywhere. Do you see? Yes. So these are some of the steps we need to use.
Thank you. Dr. Eduful, so there's a question for you on
how we are using quantum to arrest the illegalities in our system. In a recent innovation forum that we had it here about 3 weeks ago, we had about 3 of our staff innovating something that looks a bit strange and that could actually arrest illegalities. Management took a decision to implement it at where we have our SLT customers there, those who take much of the loads. And it was so surprising. We have a lot of data at our end, and somebody has been able to turn this data around, written algorithm, build some microchips kind of thing that the person has been installing at these premises of customers who steal a lot, because that is his work. He said he's overwhelmed that when they even disconnect, they go back. They don't fear, and sometimes they don't care, just bribing you to have their way. So what the guy designed was costing just 1,000 cedis and was able to prove to management that if I'm charging you 1,000 cedis for this thing I have produced, and you are going to use it to arrest somebody that will bring you billions, it shouldn't cost much, because you are going to get a lot of money. You have a lot of industries. Look at the quantum of energy they are taking, and then they don't want to pay. So it is there, just that they have not labeled it quantum. But I know once you are able to build chips and is able to do excellent things like arresting illegalities, then quantum is being implemented in ECG now as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there's Prof. you had a question, and then I think there are other hands up.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. I think we've heard even today that people are important for any quantum science and technology movement that Ghana wants to follow. I believe that, as was said earlier, why is it that 4 years ago, the number of teachers teaching physics who were produced by the universities was 16? So you look at this, we don't have the people, So people are doing physics, but it's somebody else with another specialization who is teaching them the physics, because they don't have the real physics teachers, And this is a problem. And I think that if we want to have the people to move the system, we need to start from KG. KG is important. Let's build the system from there. So gradually, we will have people interested. And if the pedagogy changes, and it's more interesting and exciting to them, nobody will fear physics, nobody will fear mathematics, and a lot of people will come there. Let the people, or those who want to go to medicine, go. But there will be a lot of people who want to come and take advantage of quantum science and technology, which is going on to be better than the medicine. So I think that this is something that we need to take into consideration. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you so much. I think mine is on grantmanship. I think the speaker on your immediate left talked about grantmanship. And we know that to get the funding to be able to award the right scholarship to people to stay in the lab and work we should have some funding for them, and we should attract some grants. Currently, to be able to attract good grants, you will have to work with international partners. And we lose all the opportunity of PhD master's training to them. So we don't get the opportunity we want to train people locally. On the local front, how do we address this? Because either than that, we will have our conventional labs, and nobody will build a lab to satisfy just what you want to do as a professor in your research interest. So how do we handle this? The second one is on technological off-takers. We have a lot of inventions. We come for innovations, people pitch, and at the end of the pitching, it ends there. If you find some foreigners there, they steal your idea before you say, Jack, it is out there somewhere. We have mentioned some of these things in your deliberation. How do we address some of these challenges so that at least we can see the transition or the correlation between the theory and the practice of it? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before you answer the question, I just note that we are just about 7 or 6 minutes to lunch, so we'll just take one more round of questions and then we'll have them address them. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. So for me, I want to ask, why is it that we move so slowly in terms of adoption? Right now, for a number of years since we started talking about AI, the universities and tertiary education, they are busy paying for Turnitin to detect AI to punish students. But look at your phones, it's forcing you to use AI. Look at your laptop, look at everything. So why are we doing this? Can I say something very, very quickly? So what we should do, we are our own enemies. We are pushing quantum physics, we are pushing this, but the earlier things for the foundations, we haven't put them in place. What do we need to do? Detect the use of AI, even if it is 90%, but the issue is, let's change our assessment strategies. It's changing. So in terms of AI, for correct prompting, which we need to teach them, you give them a mark. For not prompting accurately, you train them on how to do correct prompts. We move to humanizing AI. We move on to cleaning, because you may want something contextualized to Ghana, but when you don't do proper prompts, it gives you everything. So those cleaning, so you have lines of awarding marks, which is industry's requirement that now, where will this graduate work? Who doesn't know the AI? COVID came, we did blended teaching and learning. Now we are going back to face-to-face. Blended teaching and learning does two things, so we should not stop it. Number one, we are using it as a vehicle to transfer knowledge and skills. But as we are doing that, the students are also being taught to be ICT savvy, to be AI savvy, because no industry will take you again. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg you, let's be proactive. The last one, relationships with lower level. You know, school systems are like inputs, processes, outputs. Go down. Somebody talked about preschool. Go there to KG or class 1 to 6. Start the relationship with them. Accra Technical University, whichever. Take them through career days. Take them through a relationship where you know by the time they finish, they are falling into physics. Role models is too much, but let me stop here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Professor Quist, maybe you might want to take his question on there was a question on no, it was adoption, but the funding, grantsmanship, and then things like transfer of technologies earlier. So
Okay.
he was asking about how to get funding to get the research done, because no one's going to give you funding for just your research. So how do we sort of work on the funding issue, particularly in a local context? to get a lot of the research done. Was that your question? Yes, okay.
Yeah, so in terms of funding, it depends on the funding, the reason for the funding, or the reasons for which you think you need the funding, and the reasons for which you think somebody have to fund you. No one is having money going around just looking for anybody to just spend it. No. And if you are an industry or an organization, I don't think you just allocate money for anybody who just want to spend it on anything, to just write the proposal and you give it out. No. So either they just want to support a cause, or they needed something that you are working on that they wanted an improvement, or they are finding it difficult to have a solution, and your research works within that space will give you that opportunity to solve the problems that they have. Then you can get a funding. Okay? We also have situations where there are general fundings just to support development of a new field within a particular community and also space. So you have to, if you are the researcher and you are seeking for the funding, you have to identify these reasons behind and see what you can do. And also, one thing I advise people within academia to do is that you have to develop the field, you have to develop the space, you have to demonstrate that you have the capability to move that field forward before somebody can look for you. Okay? Or you can also look for those that are looking for people like you that you can work with. Now, there is a reason why in academia they talk about, they value certain indexing places to the others. For example, well, we have Scopus, we have Clarivate Analytics. Even though we have other ones and people have their independent minds in terms of monetization of research based on open source and that, let's leave that one aside and focus on the indexing services, what they do. So some of these indexing organizations connect to industry. They've developed systems that can go through your papers, extract the critical knowledge that is in there that can fit an industry need. And based on that, either they use your paper for that work, or they contact you to see how they can use you to solve their problems. And because in some cases they can plug you out and move you to industry to work there for some time, maybe when the product and everything is okay, you can go back. In other cases, they can provide you funding and then give you the problem for you to solve. So if you want to be a top-notch or elite researcher that you can attract a lot of funding, then you, besides your area of identification, where you publish your research works and where they are indexed also counts a lot. And these are the reasons behind them. I know for a lot of people, they just think if you publish in this one, which is indexed is composite, that means you will be promoted and stuff like that. No. Besides, there is this, what I've said is the reason behind such databases. And they also make sure they do due diligence in the research processes so that they can really feed those information. And that is why most of them even are using artificial intelligence to detect plagiarism. Recently, we realized that there was a communication or retraction of a lot of scientific papers, especially even in Ghana, where some people had their papers retracted because they have framed some of the data sets and all those kind of things. So if you're able to publish at these sources as an academic person, then funding won't be a problem for you. And also based on how you do your works, you can also apply for funding in order to develop those programs and increase those bases in the development based on the need for that, and you can get that funding, and then you can get partnership in terms of your students having to go to those institutions to do internship and stuff like that. And one other thing, sometimes people are like, oh, when we train the people, they go and then they don't come back. Sometimes they take them away from us. It's not, you don't have to focus much on that. You have to ask yourself this question that, what will make someone stay to continue working on that? And then as a department, you have to create an environment that can retain the researchers that will continue to produce the people you need, at the same time sustaining the quality of researchers that have to stay to grow that field. And you can get funding and other things to support both the growth and also stuff like that. Because if a company keep on picking your students, then you have to be happy. What it means is that you can approach that company to fund you to produce more. So you have to see how best you can make good use of some of this. Because when I was in Canada for a particular conference, they arranged a meeting between me and one of the godfathers of those who founded Google, based on what I presented on and what we were doing and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot in terms of how, even in terms of quantum computing, Waterloo University, the development within that space, how they were able to maintain their center whilst they partner with other tech industries in order to still continue to dominate that space. In terms of work, even standard development, you see those universities there as well as the industry. So for the research side, you need to focus on these aspects and then work with it. Then maybe if I can quickly touch on the physics and then the education. Now, maybe my story is a little bit different from what you are saying, because I did physics at my undergraduate, my bachelor's was in physics. And I didn't do physics because maybe I wanted to do physics as physics, but I did physics because I wasn't sure in terms of what I would do next. And the only thing that I can do, that I can move from there to any other space, was physics. I don't know whether I understand what I mean. What I mean is that at that point, I have that understanding that if I completed my physics, I can branch into any other field without any problem. So when I was confused, that's where I branched into physics. Not because it's difficult, because I want to wait a little bit and study things around me. I don't know whether you get it. So it depends on how the teachers within the institution present the physics to the students. I think Ghana, in terms of teaching of physics at the SHS level, we don't have that much problem in terms of brain drain, because most of the physicists we produce, or the BSc physics we produce at the university level, ended up being in teaching in the second cycle institutions. Unlike other fields where the best students go to the industry and other places to chase money, and the worst ones go back to the classroom. You can see that sharp, whatever difference. So our physics teachers at the high school level were the one that even motivated us based on how they explain and teach the physics to us. And on this journey of mine, when I was also in the University of Cape Coast, with that understanding and how those who taught me at SHS in terms of the physics, 2 physics teachers, no, I think 3. One was more into electronics. The other one was into, has to do with motions and other things. The other one also have to specialize in different fields. So in terms of electricity and stuff like that. So by harnessing this expertise and the experiences of these teachers, when I moved to the university, in terms of the way they also approach the physics, that was University of Cape Coast. They approach the physics to works and stuff like that. There was one unique thing that I found. Even though the University of Cape Coast teaches general physics compared to other universities in Ghana that maybe at the end they are medical physics and all those kind of things. One unique thing that I've understood and that I've learned from the structure of the University of Cape Coast physics is that they focus more on, even at the ending part, in terms of the projects that you do. And the works of the faculty that teaches us becomes a motivation that drives us to do things. So we look at the works that they are doing, what they tell us about them with their expertise, driving us to do so many things. So in the University of Cape Coast, I specialized in computational physics, even though there is no computational physics there. When you ask all my colleagues, I think I have one also here, they will tell you that when it comes to computing and programming and solving problems in physics with those equations, I can break down the physics equations, solve them, and based on, I use numbers to understand the physics equation. That is the simulation. So I write, and I was using Fortran 77. Maybe some of you might thought I was using any advanced. No, I was very good at Fortran and other programming languages. So I try to simulate, the equations, and then use it to understand them and build that. And my performance within the computing field is not surprise to all my colleagues. And at the same time, if you pick any colleague of mine in my physics class, their success in their field is not also surprise to us because we know where each other is good at. And I think our batch, based on how I observed, more than half of our colleagues are PhD holders, right? You. More than half, I think, more than half of our class are PhD holders, which shows that when you communicate with even those that are very successful within the spaces of physics and ask them how they were able to make it and understand and move their way through, you can use those lessons learned to rebuild the younger generations that are coming. Because I always tell people, for example, in some of our university settings, they said there are those who can teach and those who can research. I've met that in a lot of institutions, which is totally wrong. Why am I saying this? You cannot tell me that the person who has come out with a theory, you who have learned that theory can teach it better than the one who came out with it. So, in a sense, those that are doing most of the research work and are more successful in the field can guide the young ones in terms of where they can easily step in order to build from where they have reached and then continue. Then we can have a sustainable strength in our physics curriculum development and in terms of human resource and human capacity. Thank you.
We really run. We've run way over time, and we are standing between our participants and lunch, and that's a very dangerous place to be. Shall we thank our panelists very much? Thank you very much. Thank you.